We're in Bagan right now, and I've been filming along the way where we've been. I'm a filmmaker myself, and thought I would give myself a bit of a test to see if I could make a video using just a cheap Canon camera. I'm using the Canon 60D and one lens, a really cheap 60-pound 50mm lens. And if you're a filmmaker, this was also for you, because this is all about using really small amounts of equipment on the road. We used a super cheap tripod which kind of broke halfway through. I'm using this Rode mic, which isn't even wireless, it's just a hugely long wire. Here goes another motorbike. And yeah, we're just seeing like what we can do with the most basic kit. I mean, back home I use a Sony a7S II, I have Steadicam, I have slider, I have drones, I have all this stuff. But out here it's like kind of fun just to literally just go out with the smallest kit that you have and see what you can do. The other thing was I already made a film about Myanmar, which was also with one lens. It was with a Canon 5D and a 35mm lens, and that was much more handheld and moving. So this one I wanted to set myself a bit of a challenge by actually using a tripod for every single shot. And I tried to do that because I wanted to think more about framing a shot and setting a shot up rather than having to distract people by making movement. Movement's great, but also having a really well set up shot is quite key to doing filmmaking. So doing this challenge was part of seeing if I could make an interesting video by using just static shots with a tripod. So anyway, onto our trip. So right now we're in Bagan, which is a beautiful place. It's like the #1 tourist attraction in Myanmar. It's kind of like the Angkor Wat of Cambodia, if you've ever been there. It's a valley full of really old, beautiful temples. The first part of the trip, well, we started off flew into Yangon. So in Yangon, it's like a big city and it's just like a blanket of heat. And we were just like, okay, we got to get out of Yangon. Went to the coast. The coast was breezy, but equally hot, if not hotter. We had a great time. We got some great footage on the bikes. We rented some motorbikes and we went down on the low tide along these flat beaches, which was just probably the most awesome part of our trip. Okay, do it, try it. And on the way, we stopped in on a village. We got lost and just entered a village and met a lovely local girl there who ended up inviting us to a wedding, which was pretty cool. So anyway, back to our journey. So yeah, we went out of Ngwe Saung. We took a morning bus to Yangon, and then straight away took another bus to Kalor, which is in the central northern part of Myanmar, and that's one of the stopping points for doing a trek. We were a little bit apprehensive about going on the trek in the first place because we were told that it was very touristy and there would be a lot of other groups along the way. But in the end we did it, and actually we found, maybe because it's a bit low season in April, we found that it was pretty good. So onto Inle Lake. It's a lake in this valley. We did a boat tour and we thought again that would be pretty touristy, and it was a bit, but it's an all-day tour, and actually it was the highlight of our trip, to be honest. They stop off at lots of different cottage industries all around the lake. For example, we saw the blacksmith. We saw the lotus and silk making. They use the lotus leaves to make strands, which is like silk. And then the coolest thing was right at the end of the day, as we were heading home, towards sunset, we came upon this whole herd of water buffaloes swimming, which was just magical. And on another day, if you've got a spare day in Inle, I really suggest heading to the wine estate. It's called Red Mountain Wine Vineyard, or Wine Estate, I can't remember. And there you can sample like 4 wines, 2 reds, 2 whites, and overlooking like a beautiful vista of the town and the valley below. That was really nice to do. The wines weren't amazing, but yeah, they were fine. So yeah, and then the other thing that was random was our trip coincided with a water festival, which entailed people hurling water on you when you're walking down the street. And yeah, that was pretty fun. We realized we probably could have had a bit more fun with it ourselves. We pretty much ran out of the way, and looking back, we probably could have spent a good fun day just throwing water at random strangers. I did end up throwing some water at a child's face, which I was quite proud of, but I didn't capture that on any film. We've had so many moments when we've connected with the local people, for example, at the wedding, where they invited us along, and you could tell they had very little money, and yet they asked us to sit down with them, to eat with them, and they were so humble and polite and friendly. And people say that about everywhere in Asia, but I think there's something quite different and quite special about Myanmar. The people mostly live in a lot of poverty, as I said, and yet they seem so immensely happy with life and with the few things that they have. And I think what we've taken away from it is just you don't really need a lot of things in life. Myanmar is also like quite a unique place in Asia. It's caught in a time warp. It's because of the civil war and because of the socialism that was there, it's been kept cut off from the rest of Asia. So where its neighbours like Thailand have seen a lot of tourism development, Myanmar has not. And that's sad for the people because they've been held back a lot, and a lot of them are in incredible poverty. But on another note, it's been beautiful because the culture has remained so intact, and you want this to be retained. I've had some conversations with locals where I've talked about what do they see about tourism and development, and they're all for it. And I mean, that's great because for them it means getting a higher quality of living, and for them they're living in quite poor conditions. But as we all know, that when we've seen places like Thailand develop, it's great, but also it tends to have an effect on the environment, and it tends to exploit the people, and only some people seem to profit from it, and in the end I think it kind of ruins the country. So I really hope that doesn't go away with Myanmar, and that Myanmar can learn lessons from its neighbours. It's definitely a place you should visit if you like experiencing like beautiful culture that seems to be preserved through time, like most places haven't. Isn't that right, Ed?
True that.
Okay, well, thanks for watching, and please watch my other video on Myanmar if you enjoyed this one. Cheers, guys. Bye. What was that about?